qua 2 buổi đầu tiên của chuỗi hội thảo với nội dung về reading và listening. Đây là buổi thứ 3 với chủ đề về dạy speaking. Một lần nữa xin được chào mừng tất cả quý thầy cô đến với buổi tập huấn giảng dạy tiếng Anh trực tuyến tiếng Anh 6 Friend Plus do nhà xuất bản Oxford Fox tổ chức. Nhà xuất bản Oxford Fox là một trong những nhà xuất bản hàng đầu trên thế giới về các ấn phẩm ngôn ngữ tiếng Anh, là một bộ phận của Đại học Oxford Anh. Chúng tôi cam kết hỗ trợ phát triển việc học tiếng Anh trên toàn thế giới. Chúng tôi không ngừng tập hợp kinh nghiệm chuyên môn và nghiên cứu của các chuyên gia để tạo ra các nguồn lực và giúp hàng triệu người học tiếng Anh đạt được mục tiêu của họ. Để bắt đầu hội thảo, tôi xin phép giới thiệu giao diện của phòng hội thảo trực tuyến. Khu vực số 1 chính giữa màn hình là khu vực trình chiếu slide thuyết trình của buổi hội thảo. Khu vực số 2, cửa sổ video. Ở đây quý thầy cô có thể nhìn thấy người thuyết trình cũng như quý thầy cô đang nhìn thấy tôi. Khu vực số 3 đó là cửa sổ chat. Quý thầy cô có thể trao đổi với nhau với người thuyết trình và với các nhân viên hỗ trợ thông qua cửa sổ chat này. Kế bên cửa sổ chat, tab chat đó là tab Q&A. Nếu quý thầy cô có bất kỳ câu hỏi nào, quý thầy cô có thể nhấn qua thẻ Q&A để đặt câu hỏi ở đây. Mong quý thầy cô lưu ý đó là hai tab chat và Q&A nằm khá cạnh nhau, nên quý thầy cô cần click chọn để sử dụng cho phù hợp. Các chuyên viên của OUP và Phương Nam sẽ trả lời các câu hỏi về bộ sách giáo khoa, các tài nguyên hỗ trợ. Hoặc nếu thầy cô có bất kỳ câu hỏi nào về phương pháp giảng dạy methodology thì cũng có các chuyên viên của OUP hỗ trợ, hoặc June có thể hồi đáp quý thầy cô vào phần cuối của buổi hội thảo. Sau buổi hội thảo, chúng tôi sẽ email đến quý thầy cô tất cả tài liệu của buổi hội thảo ngày hôm nay, bao gồm file recording, file PDF, bài thuyết trình, giấy chứng nhận tham gia hội thảo cùng các tài liệu khác nếu có. Quý thầy cô vui lòng kiểm tra tất cả các hộp thư ở tài khoản email của mình. Một điểm lưu ý đó là buổi hội thảo sẽ được ghi hình, do đó quý thầy cô vui lòng không chia sẻ các thông tin cá nhân như là email, số điện thoại tại cửa sổ chat. Trong suốt buổi hội thảo thì tôi vẫn online để hỗ trợ quý thầy cô và người thuyết trình, cho đó quý thầy cô có bất kỳ câu hỏi nào đều có thể gửi thông tin thông qua cửa sổ chat hoặc là tab Q&A bằng tiếng Anh hoặc tiếng Việt đều được. Tôi xin được trân trọng giới thiệu người thuyết trình ngày hôm nay, đó là June Lee. June đã từng đảm nhiệm các vị trí như giám đốc học thuật, nhà phát triển nội dung và chương trình giảng dạy, cũng như cố vấn chuyên môn. June có hơn 15 năm kinh nghiệm trong công tác giảng dạy tiếng Anh ở châu Á cho các học sinh các cấp từ mẫu giáo đến sinh viên đại học, cũng như chia sẻ kinh nghiệm giảng dạy cho các giáo viên và chuyên viên các cấp. Ngày hôm nay, June sẽ chia sẻ một số phương pháp dạy speaking hiệu quả thông qua bộ sách giáo khoa tiếng Anh 6 Friend Plus. Over to you now, June.
Thank you, Sophia, for that wonderful introduction. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, teachers of Vietnam. My name is June Lee, and I will be our presenter for today. I just want to make sure before we do start, if everyone is able to see and also hear me in our beautiful camera box. So if you are able to see and you are able to hear me, can you please type in yes into the chat box? Now, of course, if you are having any technical issues or to take the language, the content that we're learning in the classroom, and creating opportunities for our students to share their information, their opinions, their responses in the classroom. Now, with our session for today, I understand that in Vietnam, there is a shift and transition to the virtual classroom. Now, there are going to be many different teaching activities and methodologies that we're going to be applying to the classroom, but please keep in mind both skills and activities are transferable. If you're doing a face-to-face traditional classroom or an online virtual classroom, we'll make sure that all of the activities and skills are going to be able to be transferred. Let's go ahead and jump right into our agenda and key points. Before we actually go into the speaking skills itself, I do want to take a few moments to review the TIENG ANH 6 Friends Plus components and resources. Now, to be honest, I believe many of our teachers are already familiar or getting familiar with the course book, the resources that are not only available in the classroom, but also downloadable with our website itself. So I do want to make sure for those teachers who are not fully aware yet of what's available, we'll take a few moments to take a look at the components and resources. Then we're going to jump right in, and then we're going to go continue with our speaking objectives and our goals, making sure that the teachers are aware of how TIENG ANH 6 Friends Plus is designed and how these lesson objectives are clearly stated for a speaking activity or short-term or long-term goals itself to its two. We also want to make sure that we're not just speaking about the objectives or speaking about the goals. We want to make sure that our teachers are able to use the material in the classroom for more effective applications and activities. So we're going to not only be talking about the speaking section of the book, but we're also going to be exploring different areas within any of the units or any of the lessons within one unit to incorporate more speaking opportunities. And of course, we always want to make sure that at the end of our session, of course, we're going to have a Q&A for any questions that you may have. And we're also going to make sure that all of our teachers are supported with further professional development in the classroom, supporting their own teaching strengths and skills so they can apply it and make learning easier for their students, and make sure that teaching is easier for yourself as well. So we're going to look at a few of the resources at this time to it too. Like I mentioned earlier, if you do have any questions throughout our session, we have a great team supporting us. Our moderators are here. So please use the Q&A box for your questions only, and we can get those responses out to you. And of course, at the very end, we'll have a few moments to share some questions that I can discuss publicly within all of our teachers today too. Now, throughout our session, I know that many teachers here are teaching online now, so I am going to incorporate my stoplight cards. Now, I like using this, and many online teachers like using our stoplight cards. We have, of course, our red for stop, yellow or green for go, and yellow for slow. But during our session, we're going to be asking our teachers, are they not comfortable with the information yet? Do I need to explain more? Or if we are okay. Now, in a virtual classroom, you may have 15, 20, or 30 students in one class. And a lot of times, microphone usage can be very, very complicated if everyone or all of your students' mics are on. So students, I recommend is having any kind of green paper or red paper, so when you ask these types of questions, are we ready to continue? They can just hold up the color and you can scan the room to see who is following or who needs more support. If they all say green, then you can spot check. You can ask your students to have them explain back the lesson or the materials to it too. So please keep in mind, I will be using these periodically, and all you have to do is type in for G for green if you're good to go, or R for red if there needs to be a little bit more explanation. Is everyone okay with this? Are we G or are we R? In the chat box, if you understand the stoplights, please type in G or R. Hopefully, all of our teachers are familiar with the course book, our student book, our workbook, and our teacher's book. But if you're not quite familiar with all of our teachers' resources, the website is there for you. We actually do have our consultants to answer your questions as well. And when you do have time, please definitely, I recommend going into the website and seeing what resources are actually there for you to actually use. Now, in our website, we also have a lot of our easy-to-access resources, and these are just a few examples that you can use from the website, for the teacher's website. And once again, I'm not going to go over all of them step by step. I think it's pretty clear what is available. But like I said earlier, if you have any questions about accessing them, please go ahead and use our Q&A box in our screen too. Now, one of the resources that I've noticed from our previous seminars, from our reading seminar and last week's listening, is that many of our teachers were curious about lesson plans, timing, and how to break down a 45-minute classroom. Now, please keep in mind, the skills that we talk about and the methodologies are supposed to build up the teacher's confidence to use that in the classroom. Of course, you know your students better than all of us do. You also are more familiar with the timing. So these types of lesson plans are going to help you organize that timing section. Now, some areas actually have time recommendations, 5 minutes, 15 minutes. But please keep in mind, these are just recommendations for you. And depending on your students' needs, if they're quicker to pick up the speaking activity or the vocabulary activity, maybe you can go a little bit faster. Or if they're struggling in a certain area, you can slow it down a little bit too. But this actually is a very good starting point for our teachers to be more familiar and more comfortable as the units progress. So in the beginning, it may be a little bit more tougher, but when you get to Unit 2 or Unit 4, then you'll be more comfortable, and the students will also get used to this type of structure you have already set. But definitely, I recommend taking a look at our lesson plans. Now, we also have extended activities. Now, there are many different extended activities. The ones that you see on your screen now are for the speaking activities, and these are going to be partner or pair work that you can email out, they can download, print out, you can use in the classroom, you can use during a screen share for virtual classroom. And we have a lot of extra activities such as grammar and listening also provided at our teachers' resources as well. So please do not feel like you have to create everything. There are many, many resources already pre-made and available for all of our teachers to have access with. Now, the biggest, I believe, the strongest resource that you can use for getting to understand the book and the layout itself is our course overview module. Now, with this module, it actually does a step-by-step breakdown of specific pedagogy and teaching methods. There is a clear unit walkthrough from the first unit opener all the way through to the very last lesson of a unit, and it expresses and shows how the core skill structure is developed, and it shows how the workbook and the student book are linked together. Now, I am curious to see if you have seen or have completed the course overview module already. please type in yes into the chat box. If you have not yet seen the course overview module, please type in no. Scene is going to be our core sales structure, and even though we're not going to be looking at all of it today, we want to make sure that all of our teachers are aware of this general flow to it too. Now, once again, we'll be focusing on the speaking, but hopefully we can see that speaking can be tied into other areas of the unit itself. So, now that we have looked at our components and our resources, I would like for us to continue on to our meat of our session, and we're going to look at the speaking objectives and goals that we are trying to set for our students in the classroom. So, if we want to talk about our speaking objectives and our goals, we first have to make sure that we identify them. We have to know what are our goals and what are our focus points. Now, I would like to hear from you. I am going to ask 3 different questions about speaking goals and speaking classes, and hopefully all of our teachers will be able to share their opinions and their experiences with these 3 questions. So the first question, what do you consider a successful speaking lesson? What do you consider a successful speaking lesson? So in the chat box, please go ahead and write down short phrases or a simple sentence that answers question number 1. What do you consider a successful speaking lesson? And I believe that all of these are true. These are all successful key points that you can judge if this is a successful speaking lesson or not. Excellent, excellent job. So if we continue to question number 2, I'll give you a few moments to read question number 2. Question number 2 now asks, what skills or knowledge is needed from your students? Now that we understand what a successful speaking lesson is, what skills or knowledge do you believe your students need to have or be successful in that speaking lesson. So is it, yes, very. And a main room. So you can see that fluency refers to how well a learner communicates meaning rather than how many mistakes they make in grammar, pronunciation, or vocabulary. Now, I believe that this is actually very, very important and something that a lot of teachers lose a little focus on. Now, remember, fluency is not just trying to be perfect at the language itself, but trying to get your students motivated in how well they are communicating their thoughts, communicating their intentions during that speaking process. That is what the fluency is. How much are they bringing to the discussion? So the other part of it is going to be the accuracy part. And the accuracy, as our definition states, it refers to how correct the learners are using the language system. The meaning, how correct is their grammar? Is their pronunciation clear? Are they using the right vocabulary at the right time? So hopefully you can see that these two areas are very, very important and they go together when you're doing the speaking objectives and goals. Am I supporting my students in fluency? But at the same time, are they being accurate with the content that they're delivering? Because of these two skills and these two characteristics of speaking, we need to make sure that our lessons and our overall goal is supporting both areas. Now, in this box, these are 7 very popular responses of why students or what students are saying about their own classrooms. Now we have 1 through 7, and many of our teachers shared this already. They shared that students are very shy or worried about mistakes. So I am going to give everyone about 30 seconds. Please read 1 through 7 and think about your students in your classroom. Do you think that these 7 comments, are they applying it to your classroom as well? Good. So I'm going to give you a few, all of them. Wow. Okay, that's quite broad. So hopefully you can see that these are common responses. Understand that their friends may have a very similar speaking level. But when they talk to their teacher, because the teacher is so focused on grammar or vocabulary or sentence structure, they get very turned off or they have more intimidation speaking with the teacher themselves. So it's very, very good to see that this type of student mindset. Now, once we're able to understand the student's position better, we can target and identify those goals using fluency and using accuracy in the classroom as well. So thank you, teachers. I really do appreciate that our teachers are able to recognize their students' issues. So we're going to see if we can attack this with a very simple and efficient way of improving self-confidence and more participation. So I like to read this quote. This is from John Kay. He is from the British Council, and I believe he says it really clearly about fluency and about what fluency means in communication. He says, fluency is about communication, communicating ideas, and about the person you are communicating with picking up the right messages. If you say it accurately or say it inaccurately, but say it effectively, this is fluency. And I really want to reiterate that bottom section. Even if you are accurate or inaccurate, if the person you are speaking to understands their intentions, this is still working with fluency. Now, we also want to make sure that fluency is not only about the words or only about that content that you are delivering. He continues by saying, effective communication means that the listener is receiving and responding to the right messages. And this includes far more than just the words. This is body language, facial expressions, intonation, and all of these areas students need to be more aware of. So we want to make sure that in our speaking classrooms, in our activities or objectives, we are still not supporting only the words or only the content, but we're also supporting the non-verbal parts. How is my face looking? How is my voice changing with each sentence that I'm saying? Or how am I listening to my partner or to the teacher as well? So we want to make sure that this type of communication is considered in the classroom. So if we're looking at our goals and expectations, I believe that there are simple stages that we can do to support this in the classroom. Now, of course, you can see that there are about 7 different bullets. Now, these strategies don't actually have to be used all the time, every lesson. But these types of strategies are going to help you support a more open environment to allow speaking participation to occur, making sure that our students are not only active speakers, but also active listeners. We're going to encourage bringing up communication intention in a open environment. If we're focusing on accuracy, if you're looking for vocabulary or grammar focused, if we're focusing on those specific skills, it's the teacher's responsibility to be clear, making sure that we are explaining exactly what step is going to be needed. If we're looking at fluency practice and we're trying to incorporate students' own ideas, background information, personal experience, we need to have this practice to be flexible, not just limiting our students, but there is going to be some up and down with the content. Maybe using your native language, maybe mixing in Vietnamese in the classroom, but at the same time, still supporting it with English. We also want to make sure that communication is our ultimate goal. Can I express my ideas? Are the students who are listening to me understanding what I'm trying to say? And we want to make sure we personalize with our topic and our content, and also integrating their own background knowledge to it too. So throughout our session, please keep in mind our effective strategies, and we're going to see if our lesson planning and all of our activities are able to be supporting these activities themselves. So let's go ahead and jump right into the effective applications and the activities too. And I want to return back to our core skills. Now, of course, because this is going to be our speaking session, we are going to be looking at the speaking pages, and we know that in our extra lessons and our activities, speaking is also included with the listening too. Now, what I do want to emphasize and what I want to stress is that speaking can be integrated at any lesson. I think we already know this, that in a classroom, face-to-face or online, speaking is happening all the time. So I want to show you not just the speaking section, but I want to show how you can integrate that fluency, that speaking opportunity in all the other sections too. And I want to start off by our topic introduction, looking at our main unit opener. And this is going to be unit 1, but this can be applied to any of the units when you're introducing that topic itself. So let's go ahead and take a look. Our topic today is towns and cities. Even though this says vocabulary, our objective underneath the vocabulary, it says what? These are our I can statements. These are going to be leading our class to their goals. What is our goal? I can talk about places in a town or a city. So after our lesson, students can proudly say, I can talk about places in a town or city. So how can we do this? We can do this by brainstorming our own ideas. Don't even look at the vocabulary yet. Get your students involved in speaking and get them involved in their own lessons and their own content. So we know our goal. Our goal is I can talk about places in a town or city. Now, teachers, I would like everyone right now in the chat box, think about your own city in Vietnam. Many of us are coming from Ho Chi Minh City. Other teachers are coming from Da Nang. Think about your own city. And please tell me, what are some places you can find in your city or any city? Okay? This is going to be about buildings or locations. You can make it very broad. You can say bookstore or cafe. You can be very specific. Maybe there is a specific cafe like Starbucks that you like to go to. Or tell me about details of the places. But what I want you to do, perfect, all of our teachers are doing this. Brainstorm as many ideas. Kanto, very, very good. You can go ahead, the mall, sports box, stadiums. Oops, I went too fast. So I want everyone in the chat box to brainstorm their own ideas. Get thinking about not only about general areas, but specific names and details are great. These are great brainstorming ideas, everyone. The beach, Talat. We have Cuckoo Tunnel, if that's the correct pronunciation. Rivers. We have a couple of lakes and oceans, national parks, schools, banks, museums. Very, very nice. Taibak University. These are very, very great areas that we can really focus on the places in a city. I'll give you a few more moments. Excellent. These are great, great areas. Waterfall. You have a waterfall in your city? That is beautiful. That is amazing. So, as you can see, you can do this in the classroom. You can use a digital whiteboard if you want to. You can actually even use your CPT. But I've listed some brainstorm ideas and places. I put the bank, the movie theater, post office, and I tried to put some Vietnamese landmarks also. Dragon Bridge, Kanto College, Hoan Kiem Lake, Nok Son. So you can see that these are all very specific, clear areas and places that you can find in a city. But we're not just talking about the city. We want to talk about places in the town or city. We don't just want to talk about where to go. We want to talk about what can we do there. So now, in our chat box, everyone, don't talk about the city locations anymore. I would like for you to tell me what are actions. So, meaning, at any of the locations that we named, what can you do there? Are there any special events that you have done there? Can you share a personal memory? Like, very, very good. Drinking coffee, going shopping without money. Okay, sightseeing or eye shopping. Very, very good. Excellent, excellent job. So you can see that this type of brainstorming can bring out more participation and more confidence in the topic. Now, like I said earlier, have we focused on any grammar? No. Have we focused on any specific sentence structure? No. We're trying to get your students to be more comfortable with the topic and more comfortable with sharing in general. Now, what can we do now? We now have our places, and we also now have our actions. What do you think we're going to do now? Before we do an activity, I want to make sure that all of our teachers are comfortable and they fully understand that timing will vary with this. Many teachers ask, how long do I take to do this? How many minutes should I use? This is actually a very, very complicated question because timing is going to be different for all your students. If you're working with a beginning level, then reduce the amount of vocabulary used. The best part is you want to make sure that you're reusing and recycling the words, and this is what TIENG ANH 6 Friends Plus does. You'll notice that from the beginning of the unit opener, that's why that core structure is so important. They share words, they share phrases that they can carry over to the reading section, the listening section, the language focus section, the writing section. It is being recycled and used all throughout the unit itself. So it's going to build in that language in use. We also want to make sure that teachers always ask about using Vietnamese in the classroom. Is it okay that I use native tongue? Now, in my opinion, personally, I think if used properly, using your native tongue or L1 can support the learning environment. But it's important that if you use L1, always support it with English immediately. If you're explaining something in Vietnamese, say it again in English so they can match those two phrases, the word of the use, the sentencing, the building of that content together. So please make sure that we actually are thinking about that. So our idea is that we want to make sure that our students are able to take a place and then use it in an action. So at this time, I am going to ask Sophia. She's going to jump in and she's going to be one of my example students. Sophia, can you come on into our room? Excellent, Sophia. So what I'm going to ask Sophia is, I am going to be our teacher and Sophia is going to be my student. So I am going to do a sentence building practice with her. And there are two ways that we can do this. The first way is I am going to pick a specific place. Now she is going to give me a sentence and she can use the words in the action brainstorm list or she can use her own idea. First, I want her to please use the words in the brainstorm list. Is that okay, Sophia? Great. So, okay, Sophia, I'm going to give us our word. Our first word is shopping mall. Shopping mall. Please give me a sentence using the action brainstorm list.
I go to the shopping mall to go shopping.
Excellent. Very, very simple. You can see that we're combining these words, we're getting the words together, and then we're building upon sentences. Now this time, Sophia, I'm still going to use shopping mall, but I want you to give me another idea or another experience or action that you can do there. Whenever you're ready, Sophia.
I go to the shopping mall to meet my friends.
Perfect. So you can see that she is able to take the places and she's also being able to connect the actions. The brainstorm list was with our students and she's building those sentences up in a very simple way. And we have a lot of our teachers giving example sentences as well. Now, at this point, it's not just about places and actions. We want to make sure that the actions can also be starting first and then going the opposite direction. So this time, I am going to ask Sophia, I am going to give her an action, and then she is going to give me a sentence with a place. Is that okay, Sophia? Great. So the word is eating with friends.
Eating with friends.
Any location.
I go to the restaurant to eat with my friends.
Excellent. Very, very good. So what we can do now is the students in the room can now ask other students. So Sophia, it's your turn to ask me. I'm going to be either the teacher or a student. Please tell me one action or one place, and now it's my turn to give a sentence. Please go ahead.
Movie theater.
Movie theater. Ooh, okay. I know this one. Okay. I go to the movie theater to watch a Marvel movie. Great. So you can see that you can build your sentence. You can ask your students to do 2 actions or 2 locations. Thank you, Sophia, for our demonstration. I appreciate it. Very, very nice. So you can see that these types of actions really, really help support the idea of the topic opener. So we both have our fluency and our accuracy being used. You can check, is it accurate? Are these locations truly areas that you can see in a town or a city? And the fluency is getting your students talking. What do you do there? You're not too focused on grammar or pronunciation. Get them talking, get them comfortable, and then you can see this build up in confidence in speaking in a much easier step-by-step manner, and it's actually relatively simple and quick to get your students to speak in full sentences, more details as well. Now, the best part is, this was all before our vocabulary. Remember, we only looked at our introduction I can statement. So now that the students are introduced to the vocabulary in the section or in the unit, you can see that many of the vocabulary words we've already practiced. They already thought of themselves. We have restaurants, we said school, cafe, theater, cinema, park, street, market, shopping center. These are already ideas. So the vocabulary is not strange or new to them anymore. They're not scared to actually see new vocabulary words, so we can answer and ask more questions to them. We can increase their interest, increase their topic exposure, but we can now use the unit vocabulary to go back and talk about a discussion. Oh, do you remember what we did at the shopping mall? Or do you remember what Sophie did at the restaurant? So you can get your students to have this type of answer and response. And they're also being including the vocabulary they used. They are actually warmed up to speak more confidently, and it makes it easier to get your students involved with it as well. And of course, you can expand upon this. At the shopping mall, you can go shopping. What else can we do at the shopping mall? What else can we do at the cafe or the library? Where can you buy food or snacks? We're trying to expand their actions at certain locations to the situation as well. Now, hopefully, you can see that it's not just brainstorming, it's not just getting their own ideas, but we also want to make sure that speaking fluency is also based upon listening. And this is where our videos and discussions and our resources of our audio clips and our video clips come into use. Now, last week in our listening section, Ollie did a great job of discussing how listening can be worked with too, but listening can also be implied with speaking. And you can use screen captures, you can stop and play, ask them questions, or you can also include the listening portion to allow active listening skills to be used as well. So at this time, I am going to play the video clip for you. It's about 1.5 minutes long. Everyone, please go ahead and watch the video clip, and I'm going to ask a few possible questions teachers can ask their students after watching the video clip. Sophia, can you please play our video for us?
Is your town a good place to live?
Yes, I think so. It's great that there are a lot of things to do in the evening. There are some cafes, cinemas, restaurants, things like that. It's an interesting place to live.
Have you got a favourite place in your town?
Yes, my favourite place is a French restaurant. I really like French food. There isn't a theatre here, but I like living in this town.
Tell me about your city. Do you like it here?
Yes, it's okay here. I like it.
We've got a sports centre near our house, and it's great that there are some parks in the city too.
What do you think of your town?
Well, we've got a library near our house. There's an old bridge and a monument too.
Yes, it isn't very exciting, really.
Well, there's a cafe.
Yes, but there's one cafe, and it's at the bus station.
Yes, there aren't any good shops here.
Yeah, it isn't very good, to be honest.
No, it isn't great, really.
Sophia, thank you. If you can go back to our slides. Now, hopefully you can see that even with our speaking lessons, this video is now easier for our students to follow along with. Why? We've already had a lot of practice dealing with questions, things that they can find around their city, things that they can do there. So we want to make sure that when we're watching the video, we're able to see not just the reactions or the speaking ability, we're also focusing on the listening skills for our students. So, in our video, how did the first boy feel about his town? And the students can think about it. Okay, he listed many different things in his town. He listed about different activities and different locations he can go to. Now, what I like about this is that the video has a lot of mixture about facial expressions and emotions. So let's look at question number 2. Just looking at this girl's face, does the girl find the town fun? In the chat box, do you think this girl finds her town fun? Yes or no? In the chat box, does the girl find her town fun? Confused. So hopefully, up to this point, let's do a quick check. So far, are we clear about the information that has been presented? Yes, we are clear, or we are not. G, we are good to go, we are clear, or R, we are not. Did we personalize a topic or content, and did we integrate background knowledge? In my opinion, I believe the activities we did with Sophia, the brainstorming, and the video, this allowed a successful effective strategy portion. And to be honest, it wasn't that difficult to add in a lot of these strategies into our topic opener. Now remember, we're not just looking at the lesson objectives, but you can turn any lesson objective into a speaking objective. Now remember, this was our objective. I can talk about places in a town or city, and that was from our unit opener or vocabulary section. But if we look at our reading section, remember, let's go back to our I can statements. It says, I can predict the content of a text from photos. Even though that this is a reading section, how can I make this a speaking objective? Okay, I know that our I can statement is prediction using text and photos. So what does that mean? Speaking objectives can now be making up predictions. We can talk about how we can reference images, and there are going to be certain phrases that we can use. I think, or it looks like, or I can guess from the photo. These are all still making predictions. We are still using photos, but you can see how these are now integrating speaking objectives in a different lesson. Even though it's not targeting speaking, you can still have these speaking opportunities to work on accuracy and on fluency as well. And this is broken down through all of our units and all of our lessons, even in the language focus. The language focus is supposed to be a grammar focus, but you can still look at the I can statements. I can ask and answer questions about places. Wow, okay. That's actually a pretty simple and clear speaking objectives. Questions, answering. Questions and answering. How about the vocabulary and listening section? The I can statement says, I can understand people comparing places and things. What is our speaking integration? Comparing. One is better than the other. One is smaller than the other. So you can see that speaking integration, speaking fluency can be added into many of our lessons. So it's always an opportunity to have your students engaged and active in the classroom. But remember, I want to talk about not the other sections. I want to focus on the speaking section. And this is going to be the speaking core skill page. Now, if we take a look at the speaking core skill page, even the page layout seems to follow a very simple structure to support both fluency and accuracy in the classroom. Where does it start off with? Of course, looking at our I can statement. Our speaking objective is asking questions and saying where places are. The I can statement is, I can ask and say where places are. Perfect. So where can we start off from? We can start from the dialogue, the conversation. And not just the conversation, but we're going to be doing that active listening. Can I have my students listen, see the conversation, hear the conversation, and add in different portions? And this is going to be focusing on the accuracy. We're going to focus on the dialogue. It's going to be a dialogue structure. We're going to be looking at filling in missing details, and we're going to focus on that speaking structure. Speaker A, speaker B, speaker A, speaker B. Where is the question? Where is the response? Where is the question? Where is the response? So we're going to be able to see how to use this structure to work on accuracy. So this may not be a brainstorming activity. This is not predicting. This is going to be active listening as well. So hopefully you can see that this is going to be our sample or our model dialogue we're going to use for the speaking portions. And hopefully everyone can see that there are missing fill in the blanks. But what are we filling the blanks in for? we are going to be completing the dialogue with our 4 phrases. Remember, this is going to be the accuracy listening portion. We're going to fill in with any shops, the bus station, are we near, 5 minutes. So in the classroom, you can allow your students to listen, see the dialogue, watch the video, and they're going to fill in the blanks to make sure they understand the listening portion. They're actively filling in the information to get that structure set. So we're going to watch the lesson itself. We're going to watch the conversation. Now at this time, Sophia, can you please turn on our conversation? Before that goes on, everyone look for our 4 words. We're going to look for any shops, the bus station, are we near, or 5 minutes. Please go ahead and play our video for us.
Excuse me, are we near the bus station here?
Have you got a map? Yes. Look, we're here and the bus station is in North Street.
Okay, and how far is it from here?
It's about 10 minutes on foot.
Right, thanks. And are there any shops around here?
No, but there are some shops in the high street. That's 5 minutes by bus from here.
That's great. Thanks for your help.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Sophia. Now, once again, in the classroom, you can turn the video on multiple times, and you can have your students fill in the blanks as they're doing this. I like to have this structure played at least 2 or 3 times, because not only are they focusing on the accuracy of the fill-in-the-blank phrases, but they're also be able to notice the speaker's tone, the speed, and an inflection of how they're going to be expected to do. Now, the 3rd time, it's up to you, but you can see the students are going to be able to break down this conversation in a very simple way. So let's see if we got our fill in the blanks in together. So I went ahead and put in the answers into our dialogue. Excuse me, are we near the bus station here? Have you got a map? Yes. Look, we're here and the bus station is in North Street. So you can see that we're checking that listening accuracy. Now, when we do this, this is where you're going to be able to see where these key phrases are being integrated. Now, what I like to do with my students is I would have them underline the key phrases they hear from the box into the dialogue. So they know that these are going to be the key phrases talking about asking or telling where places are in the city. Now, once we do the accuracy part, we already went through the whole dialogue. We filled in the structure. We filled in the missing information. And that is going to be the accuracy. But now we want to make sure it's not just repeat, 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 but we want to include the opportunity for students to put in their own information, make it personalized. And this is the fluency part. If we apply the fluency, let's do a substitution. Instead of bus station, earlier Sophia said shopping mall. So let's ask and take out bus station, and we are now going to put in the shopping mall. So we're now personalizing this. We're allowing the students to get more creative and put in their own ideas. So now it's going to be, excuse me, are we near the shopping mall here? Have you got a map? Yes, look, we're here and the shopping mall is in North Street. So what we're doing is we're still taking that structure. We're still taking that speaking outline and frame. But we're now adding personal substitution. We can also use more natural language or terms. So if we continue reading, it says, woman, Oh, okay. How far is it from here? Chris says, it's about 10 minutes on foot. Right, thanks. And are there any shops around here? Chris responds, no, but there are some shops in the high street. That's 5 minutes by bus from here. Now, many times students don't take the bus. Maybe they walk. Or for our teachers, they take their own motorcycles. So what you can do is you can go ahead and add in your own content. The student's question is, right, are there any shops around here? Put in your information. No, I'm sorry, there are no shops around here. Maybe in this area. Or, yes, it's right around the corner. Or, what kind of shops are you looking for? So you can add this content, getting sure the students are being able to put in their own experience, their own ideas, but the idea is that we're still keeping the structure. We're allowing them freedom and opportunity to speak, make it more comfortable and more casual for them, but we still have that structure being laid out. And then, at this time, they can partner up, they can go in small groups. You can use breakout rooms if you want, or if you're face-to-face, you can just do small pairs next to each other. And they're going to practice the dialogues with their partner in a very, very simple way. Now, the reason why we do this is because this allows our students to really see what a dialogue is going to be about, what is the main purpose of this. Depending on all of our content, we're able to reach our goal of asking and answering about places around the town. And we've already included our expressions. So what we can do now is, on the page, you can see our gold star and our blue star. And many teachers will be thinking, oh, how can I incorporate these two sections? Well, if we take a look at the gold star is actually similar information from the main dialogue. But maybe the main dialogue is too long. We want to break it down for it first. We want to see if our students can build up to a longer dialogue. So we can do back and forth, simple questions. Now, what I like to do is, I have these lovely bubbles, speaking bubbles that I use in my classroom, and many teachers actually have these speaking bubbles. Now, if you are using it in a traditional face-to-face classroom, I like to keep maybe 30 of these or 40 of these, and hopefully you can see it's kind of shiny. What I did was I put lamination on top of it so the students can write on it with a whiteboard marker, and you can erase it. Put it away and bring it back over and over again. Now, if you're doing this in a virtual classroom, what I can do is you can still use the bubbles in your class. So using our dry erase marker and using our expressions from the class in the dialogue, I am going to write a question for my partner Sophia, and she is going to respond to the bubble itself. Give me one moment. Okay, so here is my question. Sophia, can you please come back on for us? So here is my question. So it looks like I am asking the bubble. So in the virtual classroom, what I am going to do is I am going to show Sophia my question. Now, I am not going to read it first. You can if you want to. But I am going to have Sophia read the question first and then answer it. Okay, so Sophia, please read the question out loud and then take a few moments to give us a response. Is that okay?
Okay, June.
Okay, here is the question.
Excuse me, can you tell me where the bus station is? It's about 5 minutes on foot.
Very good. So you can see that I have the question already written, and like I said, we can erase this and do it again. But the idea is for our students to understand what the question is. Can they understand it and give us some feedback? And Sophia did a great job by answering it in a complete sentence. And we can also build upon this as well. And of course, Sophia, as in the student, she can write her own question. Or as a partner, I can ask the question and she can write her response and give us a response back and forth. And like I said earlier, I used our expression, and because this is a laminate part, I can just erase it. Where is the bus station? You can make it shorter and shorter, and she can also share different responses as well. So please do not think that this is only a face-to-face practice. You can also do this in a virtual classroom too, using your camera. Thank you, Sophia, for your help. So as you can see, the gold star allows the students a better understanding of how to build up this longer dialogue. So this is going to support a lot of our beginning level learners or learners who are struggling, or even if they are advanced learners, you can still build this up. You can have your students add the expressions, excuse me, thank you, can you tell me, where is? So there are a lot of different ways you can use these dialogue quotes. Now, for the blue section, you can see the blue section is a little bit more advanced. It says, work in pairs, look at the situation, and prepare a new dialogue. Use the dialogue in the exercise 1 to help you. Now, you can see that this is an extension. So this is going to be a little bit more difficult because, not difficult, more challenging because they're changing the situation, they're changing the location, and they're going to give you a certain event. Maybe you are looking for a shopping mall, or maybe you are late to meet your friend at the subway station, or you're looking to buy a birthday present. This way, with the buildup of our speaking bubbles, they are now able to handle unique situations. You can change up the location, but they still have that base speaking skill for them to practice and also include the dialogues later on in their sections to it too. So hopefully you can see that this allows a lot of opportunities for our mixed ability learners. If your students are struggling, only do the build-up dialogues. If they are more advanced, have them do that situation. They're still going to write the dialogue, but they're going to have a specific situation to deal with now. So hopefully you can see that the speaking section actually is a clear, designated way to go through each section. Of course, teachers, you can always determine what areas to focus on longer, or what areas can be done in your classroom in a shorter amount of time, or a longer period of time. Or if you want to, start with the gold section first. Teach them the expressions. Make their own dialogues, simple questions and answers, and then show the video. There's a lot of different opportunities. You don't have to start with the dialogue first. It does help with the accuracy and setting their goals, but you can also build up in a different way as well to it too. So please keep in mind, there's a lot of flexibility built into our core lesson pages. Now, once again, with our speaking bubbles, our conversation, our video, I really believe that we were able to effectively hit these strategies as well to it too. So we'll give another thumbs up on these effective speaking strategies themselves. Now, before we go into our summary and looking forward, I want to make sure that everyone is clear with the effective applications and the activities. I know we have all of our questions going into our Q&A boxes, but I want to make sure everyone is comfortable that we're explaining that fluency and accuracy are both important. And for us to reach those goals, we have to understand what fluency and accuracy are, and then you can see how they can be applied in the classroom. So, going back to our warm-up questions, we want to make sure that, are we considering what a successful speaking lesson is? Are we building up our own steps? And are we supporting the mindset of our learners? So as we're wrapping up our session for today, I just want everyone just to think about the questions in front of you. You don't have to answer in the chat box, but just think about the questions about today's session and how you are designing your future lessons. Are you, one, are you providing clear focus on speaking accuracy and or fluency? Number two, are you supporting clear and simple steps for each skill? And number three, are you demonstrating an open and safe classroom environment? So in the back of your minds, when you're designing your lessons or delivering your classroom lesson plans, I hope that these three questions are always circulating in your brains to make sure that your goals and your actions in the classroom are going to support a strong speaking environment and allowing a lot of opportunities for your students to participate and be active in the classroom. So once again, if you are curious about lesson planning and timing, please refer to our lesson plans from our downloadable resources, and it will give you a good structure and outline to see where your lesson plan is, what areas that maybe you can take out, add in, but it's going to give you a very, very good structure of how to design and how to cater, show flexibility to match your students' needs. Once again, we also have our extended speaking activities too. So if you are interested in looking into more classroom support, Oxford University Press does have other research and professional development books that you can look through, or articles you can find online. There is a website that we can put our ELT Oxford Teachers Club website. You can look for the OUP references, but we also have all of our resources available for you with our Vietnam website as well. And once again, if you are interested in looking at digital support, there is a link that we have to help you use digital activities for certain types of learners, and this is going to be teenagers and young adults, but this is going to be all approaches to help you with specifically online classrooms, remote virtual classroom settings, and Sophia has just put in that link, and if you're curious about that, you can always go to this handout. It's a PDF that you can download. It's very simple to read, and it allows many more activities to use in the online classroom setting. Now at this time, I do want to say thank you for your time. I know that we do have a good 4 or 5 minutes to answer any questions. So I do want to go to our questions section, and I want to see some of the questions that are coming in from our teachers. And I see that we do have a question from Tuan Nam. They ask, which one should we focus on first, fluency or accuracy? Now, to be honest, this is a question that I believe depends. But fluency is actually also supporting their involvement, their personal participation and personal influence, their own experiences. Now, I don't really have a clear answer to say which one is better first. But many times for our beginning level students, working on accuracy can help because a lot of our early learners don't know the words in English yet. They know the words in their home language in Vietnamese, but they don't know the English word yet. So you can try showing the vocabulary first, increasing their accuracy so they know what word to use. But we don't want to discourage them on only picking apart every incorrect thing that they say. That's where the fluency, that's where the shyness and the mistaking hesitation comes into it. So I believe that you can kind of lean towards one of each depending on your students' levels and the class needs, but we want to make sure that both are very careful with feedback and commenting. You don't want to give negative feedback on grammar and sentence structure too much, but at the same time, you don't want them to be speaking only in their home language. So it is a balance between both of them. So I do see that there are other questions coming in, and it looks like our support staff and our consultants are already answering them. So I want to make sure that I believe we do have some additional questions coming in. It looks like a lot of them are being answered. So hopefully, if you still have more questions, at this time, I am going to send, I'm going to open the room back to Sophia again, and I will be able to still stay here a few moments to answer the questions directly. So I know there is a question about class sizes. Now, to be honest, I see a question about having more than 30 plus or 40 students in the classroom, and it is quite difficult to do a speaking class with so many students in the class in a short amount of time. So what I first recommend is looking at our lesson plans. The lesson plan, if you take a look at those lesson plans were specifically made for the Vietnamese classrooms. So what I suggest is taking a look and seeing how those lesson plans are broken down. The online resource that we showed earlier, that link, dealing with online classrooms, activities, it also deals with student numbers and high numbers of students in the classroom as well. To be honest, working with a lot of students in a short amount of time is always going to be a challenging situation for any teacher. Even if you have an hour or 2 hours, time is always something that we struggle with. And I really believe that that's when the students and the teacher knowledge, knowing what areas to focus on, really comes into play. You know that your students may be focusing or weaker with vocabulary. So vocabulary brainstorming may be more important. So you may want to focus on that instead of sentence building at that time. Or maybe speaking is more important, so you can work on the grammar structure later. It's all about prioritizing your students' needs to fit those skills, those demands in that short amount of time. And of course, like we said earlier, speaking is not just one-time event. You don't learn speaking and you're perfect forever. You're always going to have that opportunity in different units, in different areas of the unit as well. So if you feel like the unit opener and you weren't able to get that vocabulary done because you have not enough time, that vocabulary is again used in the reading, language focus, speaking, writing section as well. So you can also plan on that recycled language in use opportunities later on in the unit as well. So at this time, I do want to say thank you, everyone. It was a pleasure working with everybody. I want to say thank you to all of our teachers who had such positive, productive energy. The participation in the chat box was amazing. Great questions were asked. I want to say thank you to all of our OUP support, and especially for Sophia to coming in and being so confident and supportive as being my sample